Today's episode is brought to you by Con Before the Storm. Here's a quick word from the organizers.
The hype for BlizzCon 2018 has begun, and so has our planning for this year's Con Before the Storm.
Con Before the Storm will bring together fans and content creators for all of Blizzard franchises once again at the Anaheim Hilton on November 1st.
This is the largest Blizzard community-built event, and it's made possible thanks to everyone who supports our Kickstarter campaign, which is now live at conbeforestorm.com.
Our initial funding goal is $13,500, and we're confident we can hit that goal with the community's help.
As always, we plan to include meet and greet opportunities with dozens of content creators, including artists, podcasters, Twitch streamers, esports personalities, and much more.
Returning fan favorites that are already confirmed for this year include badge artist Egg Dishes and Tepish, as well as the return of shirt and button designer Nadia Lee.
Finally, it wouldn't be Con Before the Storm without World of Podcasts, which will be celebrating its 6th-year anniversary.
However, our plans for World of Podcast have grown, as have the costs to make it a reality, and we need your help to bring World of Podcast back for its best year yet.
Get ready for a great night of podcasting content should we hit our stretch goal of $24,500.
To learn more about our plans, stretch goals, and backer rewards, go to conbeforestorm.com and follow at conbeforestorm on Twitter for ongoing updates. See you at BlizzCon!
It's high noon.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to High Noon Podcast, the competitive Overwatch podcast. I am your host, Blevins. With me, as always, with a new camera, is Deathblow. What's up, buddy?
Yes, people are just finally realizing how ugly I am. You're all very fortunate to get to peek in on that. So.
Get the high definition. There was a point where you had your camera oriented in a way, and there was it would look like you were brewing a witch's cauldron. So it was, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I think it's just when I vape, so it'll be periodically throughout the episode, every episode.
Rippin' fat vapes.
Vape Niche?
Vape Niche, yes. But let's move right into it. So obviously we've got, this was the end of the stage. So big one. First and foremost, let's just shout out to NYXL. I mean, obviously taking home another big title here. But with that being said, I have no idea how long this episode's going to be. So if it ends in 3 minutes, just be forewarned.
Yeah, so everybody remembers clearly how hyped we were last episode about how great the playoff race was going to be. We don't even know who's going to make it. It's so close to who can make it. Super tie scenarios. And nobody moved.
Literally nothing happened.
It got very uninteresting very quickly as the week progressed. Every result that could have provided some intrigue really just didn't go that way, other than the very first match, which was Philly beating Dallas. Everything after that just kind of went towards cementing the two LA teams into their spots, which was fine. We didn't need an exciting lead up into the playoffs for things to be great and really dynamic and live up to the hype of the stage playoffs from previous weeks, or stages, I should say. But then we get to the actual playoff matches themselves. 3-0, 3-0, 3-0. And it was over. All right, we're done. Saturday's finished. It was just about that fast. It was pretty crazy, but all things considered, we definitely did learn a lot there. Owl, whoa, spoiler alerts, Blevin, spoiler alerts. But yeah, it was really a little anticlimactic. We got to see the cool storyline of Boston versus New York, the rematch. Obviously, Boston getting the win against New York earlier in the stage, then getting the chance to take them down for the stage playoffs. But I don't know, as I suspected and as I think all Boston fans feared, they were not actually the best team this stage. They just had the best record. And I think that was pretty apparent when we saw New York put their big boy pants on, and really go with the pocket strategies that they developed for the individual teams, things like that, that they clearly prepared for in advance. They did a really great job, and anybody who was worried about them or thought maybe the gap had closed between them and second place, oops, I don't think you got that one right. First of all, big congratulations though to the Boston Uprising. They did complete the 10-0 stage. That is the first time that happens. at all in Overwatch League. We still have yet to see the perfect stage, though, which is unfortunate.
I was wondering if we were going to talk about this or not. Like, do you consider it a perfect stage or do you not consider it a perfect stage?
I mean, I get why Boston fans are desperate for it to be the perfect stage.
Because it's the last time they're ever going to have the chance for it.
They're trying to cling to it, right? But no, the perfect stage ends in a stage championship. There's no other way for a perfect stage to end. You got a 10-0 stage, right? Like, you did great. Nobody can take that away from you. Big congratulations to the team and their fans. Shout out to you, Luke Nix, the biggest Boston Uprising fan in our Discord server. I had to make sure I gave you a plug there. Also, sorry for that, because I know you're going to be mad at me pretty instantly. But nonetheless, it had to be done. And yeah, I just, it's great to watch New York play because they are kind of the gold standard. It's great to see them measured against another team that's playing at their best, which Boston clearly is right now.
Yeah.
But really, there's just nobody kind of on that level right now. Nobody as consistent, as rock steady, and with the same level of coaching and preparation that we see. I just think New York kind of is a cut above the rest right now, no matter what it looks like in any individual stage. We saw a lot of Janus this stage from New York. We saw them slip into, third stages. We saw some decisions with their roster that I thought were a little interesting. Like, I don't think if you're trying your absolute best, and purposely putting out your best roster, I don't think anybody but Libero plays Junkrat for that team when they want to play Junkrat. So I think there were some times they were doing some experimenting, and I think that explains a lot of their, five map sets this stage.
Or it could be my tinfoil hat theory of they literally weren't practicing those maps.
Right. So I think it was just I think we've accurately thrown those out. But it was great to see the top level Overwatch. I did want to see, Boston did compete within the maps themselves. They just weren't able to win any of them. They did draw one out. What did you think of the weirdness of, like, we have to stop calling this the stage playoffs best of fives, I think, right? Because New York won the best of five when that map got drawn.
No, not necessarily, because if they went 2-0, they started off 2-0 and they drew. If Boston would have won the last two maps, right? Yeah, then it would have been 2-2.
Yeah, and then there was some
confusion. And then it could have been a super draw. Oh, it could have been another super tie.
We could have gotten to the super tie in the end anyways. I'm not saying it didn't. I did enjoy watching Boston lose that a little bit too much, but it was just a really, solid weekend, I think, overall from Boston, but they just weren't able to really pull it out in the end. And now it's in the rear view. And honestly, there's a big bit of news coming out from Boston that we're going to get to in a minute here as well.
I accidentally jumped us forward. I didn't mean to. I just was like, I need to talk about NYXL as soon as possible. I couldn't wait. But let's go through and talk about some of the stuff that we did. We had an ATP episode last week. We had Big Kef himself, Mr. Thornrain. We had Kyle Wynn, Volamil, and the man who's virtually sitting next to me, Deathblow, as well. So a cast full of veterans of ATP. So it was a nice smooth episode, and it was nice because I was like, these guys are all veterans, so I'm going to try to mess with them a couple of times and try to get them. I was like, I'm just casting out some bait, and, well, I don't want to spoil the episode, but definitely check that one out, episode 16 of Around the Payload.
Make sure you leave a comment on the YouTube video for that one, though, and just let the Blevins know that all past winners deserve a crown, not just the ones they want to get a crown.
You got a crown on your individual picture.
I don't know if that's good enough, Blevins. I don't know if that's good enough.
It's more than good enough. I should have never started giving the crowns. That was a mistake. I should have never made up the crowns.
At least found a PNG that didn't have a white background.
Oh, I tried so hard to find You have no idea how long I searched on week 2 of Around the Payload for a good crown picture, and then like I tried to make one and I failed. And like,
so you have no idea how easy it is to take a white background out of an image and save it as a PNG.
No,
we'll get
don't.
to that on a different.
I don't have actual Photoshop. You need to get me Photoshop. But yeah, we'll talk about that later. This is how this episode is going to end up being 3 hours. Is we're going to be talking about Photoshop minutia. But we also actually right before the live recording of this episode, Blackwatch Report just had a live interview, and I'm blanking on who.
Chu, the head coach of Envision.
Oh yes, the head coach of Envision, Chu, was on the Blackwatch Report. That episode's going to be out, I'm imagining, shortly, or you can probably check the VOD on the Blackwatch Report Twitch if you absolutely want to see it. And we
assistant coach. I'm sorry.
Assistant coach. Sorry,
the head coach there, I believe.
Gotcha. We were planning on doing a foul play episode, but Winston's Lab did not give us stats until
Shame Bell.
Yeah, that's a definite shame bell.
Shame.
Can do it on I know you can do it on MS Paint. I know you can do it on GIMP. I know you can do it on. I tried to do it. Okay, it didn't turn out well. Okay, the white background. I picked it on purpose.
You and Winston's Lab are sharing that shame bell.
No, absolutely not. The white background crown is fantastic. And if anyone doesn't want it, they can let me know ahead of time, and they will never win Around the Payload. I mean, it's definitely not rigged. But we, like we said, wanted to have an episode of Foul Play, but that did not happen. Not really our fault there. And then, do we want to talk about Taco's thing that's coming up?
We absolutely do. So
Okay.
yeah, we are adding show number, was this 6 now? Are you still doing Ever Upward? I don't listen.
It
happens when it happens. All right.
yeah,
So
maybe sometimes happens.
we're gonna call this show number 5 then, and you can get show number 6. We're bumping you down the list here, but our friend Taco from Overwatch Score, you've seen him on Around the Payload a bunch, starting a new podcast in the High Noon family called Owl Things Considered, which, by the way, is a much better name than High Noon Podcast.
It's just the best. It's just the best name. Yeah, this is actually episode 117 of Owl Things Considered. No, it's not.
Yeah, we stole it. So we're really excited about that. It's going to be a different style of show than you're used to. I don't want to go into too many details because you should get those from Taco anyways, not from myself, because all I do is be the very first guest on that show. So it will be releasing next week, Tuesday, the very first episode. You'll be able to catch the first couple episodes in the main High Noon podcast feed, like you did with Blackwatch Report, like we were doing with
like the training
Foul Play, all the other ones, just to kind of get you guys used to the show, and then we're going to rip it away from you and make you go find him on his own feed. So that way you can, leave your reviews specifically for him, things like that. We want him to be able to interact with the audience. We'll be, we'll have its own separate iTunes feed. Those do take a little bit to get approved, but you'll get the first couple episodes on our feed in the meantime. So keep an eye out for that first episode with myself on next Tuesday. It should be released. So very excited about that.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be. Taco talked with us at length beforehand. He wanted to start a show. We gave our 2 cents. He kind of has an interesting and different style of show. Still Overwatch and Overwatch League centric, at least for now. But like a different style of show than you're used to. Nothing that we've seen, at least. So definitely happy to have him on board in the High Noon Productions family, and definitely interested and excited to see and hear that come out when it does. So
yeah, in the meantime, you can follow him on Twitter. It is at, hold on wait for it, OWLTC Show on Twitter, at OWLTC Show. That's Owl Things Considered Show. At Owl Things Considered is unfortunately too long. We couldn't get that one, but I had to abbreviate. Didn't quite go the hieroglyphics route like I have in the past. But nonetheless, at OWLTC Show on Twitter to find Taco and his new show.
Yeah, and 5 points for anyone who gets the reference. But let's move on and talk about what we did last week. Death, anything fun and exciting for you this week?
Well, I mean, there was this new patch in this game that I've been playing called Overwatch, and it has been just incredibly fun for me so far. I've really enjoyed it. We're going to be talking more about what this patch involves, but I've just been basically scumbag one-tricking Hanzo and Tom since the last patch hit. It's been absolutely glorious. Really enjoying that. I went down to Erie to hang out with my buddies this weekend. That's why I apologize if you wanted to smack talk me while the Houston Outlaws threw all weekend. I was not super available. This trip was planned literally a month ago, so I couldn't really, I was watching, but I couldn't watch and do Discord and hang out with my buddies I haven't seen in a couple months, all at the same time. But, Discord's open, and we highly encourage smack talk around the clock, really. It doesn't even need to be relevant. You can just start smack talking myself and the Blevins anytime you want.
That's true.
Discord.me/HighNoonPodcast.
Yes, get in there, everyone, get in here, man. Shout outs to Unleash the Podcast, the best Hearthstone podcast that the two of us ever did.
That's a fact.
Together. So speaking of trash talking me, instead of trash talking me, you should vote for me for the Overwatch World Cup community lead for the 28 to represent the United States of America in the Overwatch World Cup for the community lead. I have no idea what that actually entails, and I don't really care, but I want it. So if you go over to my Twitter at @the_Blevins, my pinned tweet has the link there. I'll have the link in the description here as well. If you're in the U.S. or I guess if you have a United States Blizzard account, vote for me. It's basically until I think for another week, it's basically just a popularity contest. So whoever gets the most votes wins. I should get the most votes. I have the best beard of all the people that are running. So that's really
true. I'm not running.
Yeah, that's really all you need to know, and it's all that matters. But so do that. If you have any questions, you can always hit me up on Discord or on Twitter. But let's move right along and
Overwatch Today meme of the week.
I got a couple of candidates here for meme of the week, and I guess they're kind of like co-memes of the week, but they're maybe like a runner-up. I don't know. But the first one, I had to pick this one for a couple of reasons. A, it references NYXL. B, I've been seeing this meme kind of pop up recently, and I don't really get it, so I'm feeling like old manish. So I feel like if I talk about it on the show, someone will explain it to me. But it's basically a picture of the Boston Uprising logo, and it's like disappearing into smoke or into dust or sand or something, and the caption is "SBB blows on his finger or blew on his fingers," and poof, away goes the Boston Uprising. I've seen the meme I don't know. I don't get it, but it doesn't matter. It was a pretty good meme, even if it's not really a meme or if it's stupid. Those are always the best types of memes, is stupid memes. And speaking of stupid memes and memes that involve me and were created by me and are now torturing me, the runner-up this week goes to Blazing Bob and also to Hexagrams, who just ever so valiantly trolled me, as is now per usual anytime one of the podcast family goes to
anything,
yeah. If anyone from the podcast family goes to anything and someone is not there, this is basically happening. So Bob took a picture with Hexagrams, and of course my picture is on, I think it's probably Mel's phone, and I get tagged in the picture saying, "Man, I love hanging out with Blevins and Hexagrams," and it's just me on as a picture getting tagged, not actually being there. Rip.
And I've got to say, this is a maturation of the meme, okay?
Yeah.
it's only ever been other podcasters that have been in the photo,
Yeah.
that have been brought into the con here, or the joke. But this one really, I mean, this shows how big a fan Bob is of our shows and how much he listens. He knows how often we have hexagrams on. He knows, you know, that we're very close to him. So he goes straight up to hexagrams and says, "Hey, I want you to help me troll the Blevins." And Hex just goes, "Absolutely." And
Yeah.
he just looks so
I've never
happy
seen
to
him
be
smile.
trolling you.
So I've never seen a bigger grin on Hexagram's face than in this picture.
It was either the libations or the troll that put him in such a good mood. I can't be sure. But yeah, he looks very, very excited to be trolling you. And it is just my favorite. It makes me smile looking at it, even though I'm sad I wasn't there. And the only reason I wasn't trolled is because Bob didn't have my photo handy.
Well, and you never the shots were never fired by you.
Yeah,
I
but
I started this.
that wouldn't stop Bob nonetheless.
I mean, it
He even
definitely
told me
didn't
as
stop
much.
me.
He's like,
It
"Send me
didn't
your
stop me."
pictures so I can include you." I'm like, "No, Bob, if you want to meme me and troll me, you're going to have to do the work
Do a
yourself."
little bit of work. I mean, it's not
I'm
like
not-
you're not on camera for hours a week.
Right? I'm like, "I'm not taking a selfie just so you can you can use it to troll me on Twitter." But yeah,
Gotta
so
love it.
big props to all our buddies and friends that were over at the arena for
Yeah.
the stage playoffs here this week. And I know Bob went, Mel went,
Taco.
Taco went, and I don't know if any others off the top of my head. I know Squidzord went. He's been a podcaster in the past. He he works with podcasts, goes to the game nights all the time. So it was great to see the photos of everybody out there having a good time. I hate you. Thanks. But yeah, we will hopefully be getting to the something in the playoffs here at some point. We're really making a concerted effort to the finals if we can. So.
Yeah, we want to go, and definitely want to go to BlizzCon as well. That
Yes.
is all but confirmed.
That the BlizzCon's happening, or
Yeah. Yeah, BlizzCon's happening unless I'm actual dead. And I will put in my will that I want my bloated, dead, exploded corpse to be wheeled
oh
around.
boy,
Okay, maybe not bloated and maybe not exploded, but definitely
Preserve
dead.
it first or
We're
something.
weekend at weekend at Blevins-ing BlizzCon for sure. Blevins is whatever, doesn't matter. Let's move on. Man, this episode's getting derailed so fast. But
Yes.
let's move on to our next segment.
It's high news.
It is, in fact, high news. We got a little piece of news, like we alluded to earlier, from the Boston Uprising. They have announced the departure of Coach Krusty. Coach Krusty, who is now going to be joining the San Francisco Shock.
Which does mean Brad is out in San Francisco, so he has left the San Francisco Shock organization to make room for Krusty to come in.
Did we
as the
get
new head
that
coach.
announcement too?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Taco was talking about. I didn't see like the article, everything like that, but yeah, I'm fairly certain that it's all, locked and loaded, ready to go here, which is definitely really, really crazy. If I'm being
Yeah.
perfectly honest with you, when you look at what the Boston Uprising were able to do and the sheer just number of 3-2s that were involved in
Yeah.
their 10-0 stage, you have to credit coaching with a good
Right.
a good portion of this. It's just the only thing that makes any sense to do, to be perfectly honest with
Yeah.
you. But yeah, I'm seeing an announcement from the Shock that they've released.
Oh, okay, cool.
So he's definitely on the out there.
Well, I mean, not cool.
Right.
It's
cool to
cool
get the
that it's.
confirmation to be able to
yeah.
report facts.
I was a
So-
little worried that you it leaked embargoed stuff, but that's okay.
Yeah, no, they announced it.
Yeah. Good.
But
good.
yeah, it was. It's crazy to think, right? And we did get word from Slasher that there was some internal turmoil in Boston a while ago. Krusty was definitely kind of at the center of that. It was like Krusty and Gamzu, and they were kind of clumped together, and that really didn't seem to get much traction. But at the end of the day, here now we're looking at it, and the guy who just gave you a 10-0 stage is leaving your organization to go play for another team. Now, obviously, these teams are going to just offer more money than some of the other ones.
Right.
are
I was gonna say
willing
this
to.
could be 100% money.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be related to any internal turmoil or anything like that, but it's a little strange to me to see the coaches do this, right? Because you're at Boston, right? Like so much of your value and your worth as a head coach derives from your ability to put up success and to show a proven track record of I can win games, not I can rebuild your roster to be a 500 team from not being a 500 team or whatever it is. Like, yes, there's coaches that can make a living doing things like that, but at the end, when you just came off the stage that Boston had and that Krusty led them to, it's just a little crazy to me that they would let him go. We did see the Valiant lose a couple coaches throughout the season. Now we're seeing this shakeup. I want to see teams and coaches, plant their flag and stay somewhere and really build something and see your vision through. We don't know the circumstances. We never will, but it's just very surprising to me to see a team go through this kind of a coaching change in the midst of such success that they're having. You'd think, if you're Krusty, you would think he would just tell, like, well, I mean, I just have been with this team. I want to see it. I want to see it out, right? Like, you guys aren't in the playoffs anyways. I want to see this season out. If you want to hire me after the end of the season, like, it's not like he would have any problems, right? Like, he coached the team that was penciled in at number 12 for literally everybody to second place. Like, he was not going to have a problem finding a home if he wanted to move at the end of the season. So,
well, here's my thought process. Boston, like, their whole MO since the beginning is like Moneyball. We don't want the big name players. We don't want the ego players. We don't want the expensive players. I have to imagine they did a similar look for coaches. So, like, he's probably.
But what did they say they wanted, though, in their players? There's a very specific term they used.
Coachability, or
the most coachable players.
Right. Sure. And that's all fun and well, but at the end of the day, and I mean, there's rumors that all the coaches and all the players have an idea of what all the other coaches and players are making. And if you are arguably the most valuable coach in the league, at least in terms of like what your team was expected to do at the beginning versus how they are now, the biggest improvement of a team is definitely the Boston Uprising, and you are a coach that had a big part of that. Like, you're worth way more than Boston is probably paying you. And, like, yes, you could wait until the end of the stage, but if you get a nice juicy offer from a similarly funded team in the San Francisco Shock, I mean, at the end of the day, like, yes, your legacy and as a coach is one thing, but, like, you get to reignite that challenge in the San Francisco Shock. And if you're getting a bigger paycheck, like, I can't blame him for jumping ship for money if that's the reason. I don't have any actual idea. I don't have any insider knowledge. I'm just guessing here.
One thing I'll say is if I'm a GM looking to hire my head coach for my expansion team next season, I'm paying more for somebody with a ring or a championship belt or whatever they're giving. I'm assuming they're rings. I'm paying more for one with a ring.
A belt.
Part of me really wants it to be a belt.
There's no way it's a belt.
Presumably it's a ring. So I'm paying more for somebody with a ring than I am for somebody that, like, that didn't pick the roster in Boston. And, like, you know what I mean? Grant coached them well and clear, but, like, I don't know. I would have hung tight even if I was in it for the money. I would have hung tight, tried to win my championship, unless he thinks that he's just looking at the meta that's coming up and says they're done. Right? Like, so now I can leave as the team that gave him the undefeated 10-0 stage, or the coach that gave them that.
Yeah, he sold while it's hot. He sold high.
Without me, right? They collapsed.
He bought low and sold high. Yeah, that's not bad.
That's certainly possible.
And it could definitely be a combination of things too.
But now, no matter what, I'm going to wonder, even if they do collapse in the new meta and they can't adapt, which I don't pencil Boston as a team to have the hardest time adapting to the new meta that we'll be talking about shortly. But if they do fully collapse, we're not going to be able to separate the departure of Krusty from the flip of the switch that turned them into, a average team at best, or, whatever might happen. But that's all jumping the gun. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, if we get to it. But yeah, just a big surprise move that happened today. We had to mention it and muse on it a little bit, because these aren't moves that you typically see in traditional sports, I don't think, right? Like, you don't see successful coaches leave in the middle of the season. You see bad coaches on their way out getting fired at the end of the season, and then an interim or the new guy comes in with 4 games left. That's fine. Yeah. But that guy's never coming from an organization. Like, they literally have contractual things. Like, you can't talk to coaches from other teams in the middle of the season. So definitely an interesting dynamic unique to Overwatch League here, and going to be interesting to see how it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it. I can see both sides of it. I just think like if Krusty got a nice oversized check from Andy Miller, like I don't blame him for taking it. Especially since like you can still, like, even if you don't have the ring, you can still be, if Boston won without him, it's like, yeah, but like 3/4 of that ring is mine. And maybe he might get like the honorary ring or whatever, like some teams have done before. Who knows?
And to be perfectly clear, I am rooting for the demise of Boston here. So thank you, Krusty. Like, I don't want it to be like I'm mad at you, Krusty, or anything like. Thank you. There's no way Boston turns out better for this one, right? Like,
we said that about Dreamcasper too.
We said they'd slip up, and who knows if they'll rebound, which we were wrong there. But Boston didn't get better when they lost Dreamcast. I don't think that's true. Their record improved the stage they lost them as opposed compared to the one before it. But it wasn't, Dreamcasper left, and that's why they were able to succeed. They were able to win.
Oh, it's definitely not because
in spite of the fact that they lost.
Right. It's definitely not because. Although, I mean, mistakes has been quite good, but that's another conversation to have for sure at a different time. But let's move on here, and
it's tournament talk.
Do a quick recap, do a little bit of tournament talk here. Quickly go over the matches we had. We had Philly Fusion 3-1 over the Dallas Fuel on Wednesday. LA Gladiators getting a 3-0 victory versus Florida Mayhem. And man, your Houston Outlaws losing 3-2 to the San Francisco Shock. Thursday, San Francisco Shock came back right away and won 4-0 versus the Mayhem. Boston Uprising getting a 3-2 victory over the LA Valiant. And NYXL getting I'll call it the 5-0 versus Dallas Fuel. On Friday, we had Uprising beat LA Gladiators 3-1. New York Excelsior 3-1 over Shanghai Dragons, and London Spitfire winning 3-2 versus Seoul Dynasty. And then on Saturday, we had Spitfire beating Shanghai Dragons 3-1, Seoul 4-0 over Houston Outlaws, and LA Valiant 3-2 over the Philly Fusion, which led us to our playoffs, our stage playoffs on Sunday. Of course, the Boston Uprising were rank 1. They had we'll talk about this after, but I want to get your thoughts on it, Death. Boston gets to choose their match, and Huck goes, well, we don't have we don't have a warm-up game, so we want an easy match. We'll pick the LA Gladiators, like throwing a little bit of shade there. But Boston does, I guess, show that it was an easy match, getting the 3-0 victory. New York Excelsior gets a 3-0 victory versus LA Valiant. And then in the finals, New York Excelsior gets the 3-0, technically 3-0-1 victory versus the Boston Uprising. New York getting their second stage playoff title here. What did you think about the little bit of trash talk from Huck? Was it good enough, bad enough? Was it BM? What did you think about it?
I mean, it was definitely BM. He threw a little bit of shade, but it was like the lowest key BM possible to me.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like a passing comment. I mean, he took the coward's pick, right? Like, I mean, I don't mean to like say that that's wrong, right? But the way I don't know, the way you word it when you don't want to throw any shade whatsoever is, well, we don't want to tempt fate. Typically, the 1 seed plays the 4 seed. We're going to take the one that we feel is the one that belongs. So give us the 4 seed. For what it's worth, I don't think they picked the worst team in the playoffs. Like, I think the Valiant were in the 3 seed, but I would rather play against the Valiant than the Gladiators all day.
But they don't want to play against them, I don't think. They had a rough time. I mean, they went to 5 against them earlier that week.
And they're going to 5 against them. But nonetheless, it was the bare minimum, right? It was just enough smack talk to be spicy and interesting and make us talk about it. But I don't know. It was. I need to see more of it, right? Like, how do you judge the first person to call their shot? Right. And how they did it, right? Like, I want to see the next guy come in, or I wanted to see Boston step up and go, New York, I want to make sure nobody else gets to beat them. We have to be the ones to beat them.
Right.
Like, that's the thing to do if you want to be spicy and BME and like, no, like we're the team that's supposed to beat New York. I don't want one of these LA teams doing it. You can duke it out for the right to face us, but that's the matchup we want. That's the matchup we care about. Let's get to it right away.
Yeah.
That's the truly spicy way to make your pick. But at the end of the day, I completely get what Boston did. It's not judging them for choosing the opponent that they did. I'm very superstitious when my team is involved in something. When it's just me, I'm not superstitious at all. I don't feel like I'm going to jinx myself or anything. But if it's my team, I'm like, why would I risk it? Right. Like under any circumstances. So like if I was a coach, and I got the 1 seed, I would pick the 4 seed every time without fail, because otherwise I'm just asking to give somebody the motivation they need to take me down or whatever it is. And also, you kind of earn the right to play the 4 seed in that situation, right?
Right.
But by cherry picking an opponent, you kind of give them a little bit of a mental edge, and you even saw Hydration. His response was like, "See you tomorrow."
Yeah.
Like, all right.
Right.
You called, you got it, you want it, you got it. We're coming. We'll be there. I hope you show up because we're gonna, sort of thing. And now you kind of give them an attitude, and so yeah, I don't know, especially with like the exhibition style of this, I kind of wanted it to be a little spicier. You're not actually losing anything, and
I guess you're losing money,
but like split how many ways? Like how much does the organization get? How much do the prize totals here in the stage playoffs, I don't think are enough that the players like, I mean, it's great, always great to make money. Nobody's mad when they make extra money or get a bonus. But I don't think they're like mad about the financial aspect of it when they lose in the stage playoffs. They're mad about the glory of it. That's what they want. That's what they care about. At least in my opinion, that's most likely what they care about. I'm also 30 telling 18-year-olds what to do with, $12,000 or whatever. So at the end of the day, at least he was a little fun about it. I was glad he was a little fun about it. He didn't just go, we're going to take the Los Angeles Gladiators because we are the 1 seed and they are the 4 seed.
Right.
That would have been, boring. And, but I don't know. At the end of the day, I was going to find a way to complain about it because Boston did. So
yeah, I just think, I mean, maybe Huck is just not the most like charismatic in terms of like being like a showboater. He's just like a very like straightforward person.
I think he might be the
bombastic.
I think he might be the best person for it in a non-professional environment. When he doesn't have to be a businessman, when he can PM or like, so, go over the top.
Right, when he doesn't have the craft sniper like pointed at him.
Right.
Times.
When you're not like, they're not under a magnifying glass. Like if he was just like on stream and wanted to throw shade at somebody, I give a feeling he would be way better at it than most people.
I want to see this situation. I want to see what like Coach Uber says.
He's a president. He's the president of gaming for an organization.
Right.
He's got to act like it. But I think old school. I don't never followed the StarCraft scene where I believe that's where Huck comes from, right? I never followed that, but everything I've heard about him, he was very BME. He was very, he was the heel over there, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Which I love in a person and in people and in these organizations, being the heel has a lot of appeal to me. But instead he just literally works for the devil, so it's a little different.
That's kind of like the heel, right? You a
little bit. It's close, but it's like a heel is like a good-natured bad guy, and the devil is just Robert Kraft. I cheated everything.
Yep.
Anyways,
and the Undertaker is both.
Okay, we're not going to get into the lore of WWE. So I wanted to just quickly go over. I wanted to quickly go over a couple of things here. First off, if this was stage 4 instead of stage 3, this is who we'd have in our playoffs. We'd have New York and the 1 seed. Boston would be at the number 2 seed. London Spitfire, number 3. Seoul Dynasty 4. LA Valiant 5. And then Philadelphia Fusion would be the 6th seed. Now, this isn't factoring in the division, so I didn't look that up, but this is just our standings right now. So Philly would make the cutoff in at the 6th seed, and then we've got Houston Outlaws, LA Gladiators, San Francisco Shock, Dallas Fuel, Florida Mayhem, and Shanghai Dragons.
After the Gladiators, everybody is just basically not gonna.
Yeah, I mean,
think,
are we like
San Francisco is mathematically alive? but they need to something like I think the worst they can possibly do and still make it is like 8-2 looking at this. And like they need a lot of teams. They need like 3 teams to just completely bomb out, which would mean that the Dallas Fuel and the Florida Mayhem and the Shanghai Dragons were taking wins off a lot of teams. And so the amount of help that San Francisco would need to make it, I think, is just astronomically too much, especially when you look at their -14 map differential.
Yeah.
So really
it's good.
It's basically a 4-way race for the last 2 spots as we look at it here. You know, Seoul can definitely find a way to lose their way out, but their big week this week, maybe finding a composition that works. We'll talk about that in a second. You know, put them in a pretty good spot. It would look a lot worse for them if they, you know, lost to that Houston matchup. They would be, you know, 1 game out of being, you know, bubbled out or what have you.
Right.
So, but they're sitting in a fairly comfortable spot right now. Still very possible for them to drop out. But the way I look at it here, we're looking at the Los Angeles Valiant, the Philadelphia Fusion, the Houston Outlaws, and the Los Angeles Gladiators battling for the 5 and the 6 seed. And there's a 2-game advantage here for the LA Valiant and the Philadelphia Fusion. So definitely a lot of work here to do for Houston and LA. Notably, Houston is in a much better spot than the Los Angeles Gladiators are right now due to the map differential. If you guys remember that really long map winning streak where they just 4-0'd the field after they played against like New York and Philly in the first week or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like they just went on a 4-0 streak in the first stage. That's really put them in a good position here to maybe bubble in. You know, if they can make up those 2 matches on the Philadelphia Fusion, then they will be in that 6 speed over them on you know, by way of this map differential here. So it's going to be a very, very interesting final stage, a very stressful stage for me and my fellow Outlaws fans, also for Gladiators fans as well. And the way Fusion finished out this stage, there's no way though, you know, the Fusion fans are sitting pretty right now, are very confident. And I don't know, if you have anywhere near the opinion of the LA Valiant that I do, you'd have to think that they're very, very possible to fall out a little. So
yeah, I mean, it seems like LA Valiant has basically been, it started out as like they were pretty much the power ranks number 5, and then they've never really gone above that. I don't think there was ever a time, I guess maybe they were at the 4 seed at one point, maybe. But they've basically like waved around that 5 spot.
Yeah,
they're like the entirety. Yeah, they're like a bubble right
playoff team.
Yeah. So if they're on their down,
they're honestly like exactly what I penciled them in as at the beginning of stage 1. Like they're, of all the teams that have moved around in my rankings or my opinion of them, the Valiant haven't. Their winning streaks, I'm like, I'm not buying it. Then they come back down to earth. They're losing streaks. I'm like, they've got to be better than this.
Right.
And then they come back up. So it's been you know, the most inconsistent team leading up into Overwatch League has really been the most consistent team so far, really outside New York being, we're number 1 and never leaving. You know, then the Valiant have been what we thought they were from the beginning. So.
Yeah, like solidly number 5. Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting stage. I mean, we are still waiting for the now world famous Shanghai Dragons to get their first victory. They are now officially have the longest losing streak in professional sports history at 0-29 or something, or
0-27 was the
0-27.
record.
Yeah,
I can't remember which team had it.
I think it was the Philadelphia 76ers or something.
That sounds right to me. They were definitely, if not the worst at the time, they were like the second worst in the conversation. So yeah, if you count Overwatch League as a major U.S. sport, they are officially the worst team in history.
Yeah, I just like that chart just showed me that there was like a team called like the Cleveland Spiders in the 1800s, which was pretty great. It was like an MLB team, or not MLB. It was like a whatever before Major League Baseball in the like late 1800s. There was a team called the Cleveland Spiders, and they were apparently not good. Sorry, Thorn. But let's say
Cleveland team is good at sports. It's not a thing.
I mean, the Cavaliers are generally quite good, but it's not the Cavaliers. It's just LeBron that's good.
Thanks for having my back on that one. I forgot about them.
Yeah. You
I forget about the NBA pretty often.
Yeah, you forgot about it's not even the team. It's just literally LeBron.
The Cubs won the World Series recently.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I'm just straight wrong. But
yeah.
Either way, I'm mostly just trying to bash
Wait,
Thor.
the Cubs are from Chicago. You're good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I am good. Yeah, Cleveland.
Yeah. Cleveland Indians aren't that good. I'm not gonna continue thinking about this.
Cubs there. Anyways, but yeah, you're right. No more baseball.
Neither
of us even like baseball.
The only team I care about in baseball is the Cleveland Spiders. I want to get a Cleveland Spiders jersey. Okay, let's talk about a couple of specific topics this week from the matches. I mean, the first and foremost was like there was no super draw, there was no super tie. It was all boring. Every match that like could have left could have brought us to an interesting playoff scenario. Nope. Didn't happen. It was like what we went in with is what we got out. So that was disappointing. No super draw. But Death, I'll let you take this one. Houston did not look so hot this week.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they did play pretty well for a good chunk of the San Francisco Shock match. And if you watch that, I honestly think the Houston Outlaws played better Overwatch than the San Francisco Shock did there. They had some bad maps, obviously. Route 66, not their worst map in this stage. I know it's the one everybody wants to talk about, but they also kind of figured it out this stage. But Numbani, I don't think they won once throughout the entire stage. So they dropped that. And really, it was just a matter of like Architect played absolutely out of his mind in that match and hard carried is what I saw watching.
As he tends to.
He's been known to in the past. It's really, I think, the first time we've seen it, though, in the San Francisco Shock uniform. So, if you're wondering why we were talking about, some people didn't like our Benchy Bay memes and jokes and things like that. Like, of course he's still going to play. Oops, nope, he's not playing.
No, he's gone.
Just belongs here, right? Like, it very clearly is on the stage he belongs to, or should be on right now.
Especially now with the new Korean coach. Yeah, I don't think... Well, actually, I'm assuming that Coach Dae-hee Park is Korean. I don't actually know that that's the case or not. I'm assuming.
So, I mean, San Francisco just got the better of that one by a very small margin, and to be honest. It really kind of ended on the fact that, like, Houston's just not the best control team, right? They're just, the COT's been their weakness as far as game modes go. Now, it was really not even so much that the team played poorly on Koth. It's just like they couldn't answer Architect on Pharah. And they did drop that one. That one didn't bother me near as much as the Seoul matchup did. Seoul comes out with, call it an interesting composition. It worked for them this week. I'll say that. But they moved Jae-Hong to tank, benching Miro and Kuki. They have two main tanks, just didn't want to use them.
Makes sense, right?
Reasons. To allow them to play Guido on flex support. And to be fair, Guido he probably had his best match, on the Seoul Dynasty, or the best weekend, at least, on the Seoul Dynasty this weekend. Clearly they did well, but I'm blanking on who their first opponent was. Can you help me with who Seoul played first?
It was London.
London, okay, but London is struggling and having a lot of problems this stage, especially. They did get Birdring back this week, but this is basically a split conversation between Houston punting and Jae-Hong, and the Seoul tank situation. But this is not, to me, a long-term answer for the Seoul Dynasty, and I don't think it's going to be the way to go. Are you going to tell me you're going into this tank-heavy Reinhardt Brigitte meta with Jae-Hong as your Reinhardt player? Because I don't. Maybe it's right, and I'm just not able to wrap my head around it.
Brigitte.
I don't get to watch their scrims. That would make way more sense to me. But that
would make a lot of sense, actually.
Maybe not necessarily at the end of the stage leading up into this change, but we've seen Miro and Kuki play well in Overwatch League. We've seen them not be the issue here. And at the end of the day, I don't even care if they go with this composition or this roster decision choice, which I think is wrong, but just show me some consistency, because at the end of the day, I'm just furious that we don't know who you are. Like, we're going into the last stage. The only reason you're even remotely in contention right now is because of the garbage division that you play in. Sorry, any fan of the Pacific Division. Look at the numbers. You guys are bad.
Real bad.
Real bad. you're basically being handed this opportunity, and you're not even setting yourself up in a position to be playing at your best at the end of the season, because you're just constantly changing. You're never going to have any synergy if you keep making switches like this. If you go back to Jae-Hong on let's say Anna comes into the meta, they're obviously going to make that change, you would think, right? Then what is all this stuff? What happens to Miro? What happens to all these guys going forward? How does Jae-Hong get figured in next season? Are you going to go bring him back in as a tank player? Are you going to bring him back in as a support player? They're clearly going to make roster changes. There's no way that roster is just going to stand pat for next season. You can tell by how they're making all these changes. They're not happy with what they have. And so they just need to get Fleta never to leave the lineup, Munchkin never to leave the lineup, Jae-Hong to never leave the lineup, but as a support player.
Well, I was going to say, I really careful what you wish for.
I really think they need to just get back to what they started the season as. I think that's their best form. Yes, there's been some inconsistencies and some problems, but you never gave them an opportunity to work through them, get past them, and get back to the level they were playing at previously and prior to the league. You just kept switching in spite of all logic and everything. So it was been a little crazy. But yeah, Houston didn't show up in this matchup against Seoul. That's why I'm not sold on the Seoul lineup, right? Because I just think Houston their head was in stage 4. We stopped seeing Boink sub in. We've been told he's going to be their Brigitte player. So I think they're sending him to just master the new character and go off and learn that at the detriment of being able to have your best Lucio player available on Koth. They're still bringing in Clockwork. They're playing him on Ilios, and the first stage of Ilios, how many eliminations do you think the man had? Or killing blows. How many killing blows do you think the man had?
I don't know how many.
It was 0. How many eliminations do you think the man had?
I don't know how many.
It was also 0. He didn't even shoot anybody that died. Anybody that died was shot completely and solely by other people. He didn't even help in one of the team. Then on the next stage, you come in, and I don't have stats on this one to know how many elims or killing blows he had. But what I do know is that you have Clockwork playing Widowmaker on a map with Linkser, and Linkser playing Junkrat. So why is he here? It doesn't make any sense. Houston, at some point, needs to be held accountable for these decisions that they're making, their inability to learn lessons about what your win rate is when you play Clockwork versus what your win rate is when you don't play him. As a fan, it's incredibly frustrating. You're my favorite team. I don't want to yell negative things about you and get upset and get angry. And I won't do that if you lose, but I get pretty angry when you do things that seem common sense, like a bad idea, over and over and over again, and just magically expect it to work. Now, to be completely fair, Clockwork had some really good Ilios maps this stage, and I was almost coming around to it being okay that they were using him. But this week reminded me that this isn't. And in the past, they set him up to succeed. They gave Clockwork an opportunity to be successful. They asked him to play Pharah, Soldier, and Tracer. But if you're asking him to play Widowmaker side by side with Linkser, who's going to Junkrat, you're not setting up Linkser to succeed. You're not setting up Clockwork to succeed. You're just setting him up to be a disappointment, because when you game plan against Widow for the Houston Outlaws, you're game planning for the best Widow in the game. And when Clockwork's the one that shows up, I don't even care if he's pretty good. He's not what Linkser is. I don't like. There's nobody I would play over Linkser on a Widowmaker spot. So to me, having anybody else play Widowmaker while Linkser's on the field just means your roster's bad. Like your roster decisions were wrong, your substitutions were wrong. Fix it, get it right, because you how do you not have a plan? And how important was that game? They could have jumped up over the Seoul Dynasty. That would have put them square tied with the Valiant with a lower map win. So literally you flip that one. Now you're 1 game out instead of 2 going into the final stage. You've got a whole nother team that's 1 game away from you instead, so not only are you closer to the pack is bigger. There's more teams that have an opportunity to fall. Really, really in that match. I was never tied to, I would have been pumped if Houston made the stage playoffs, but I didn't care. And I've been saying it in Discord all week. I don't care. When we lost the maps to the Shock that made it so we were really unlikely to make it, oh well, don't care, just go win the match. And they just didn't do that. Their heads were elsewhere this week. Thankfully, on paper, the meta is just going to be fantastic for them in the next stage, or there'd be no way you could even consider them a playoff team, right? If it wasn't for the insane shakeup and what's going to be meta and what's going to be played, there would be just a 0% chance for the Houston Outlaws to make the stage after this week. There might be 40 games in a season. It might be a really long season, but all the games are really, really important. And it's just insane. It's insane that they put their worst foot forward in a match that meant so much. Really, really upsetting. And at the end of the day, coaching and the organization, like, this isn't on the players, right? Like, I don't blame any, even Clockwork, right? Like, I've never once blamed Clockwork for his poor performances, right? Like, he's the player I thought he was when they signed him. He's the player he's looked like he's been every time he's gone out there, and that's it. Yeah, you'll get good maps from him on occasion. Like, he's not always going to sink you. He's a very good Overwatch player, but is he an Overwatch League level starting player that can play with the best of them, that can stand toe to toe with Pine and SBB,
or even like a one trick? Is he even like a good one trick?
Right? No, he's not. He's his one trick is Tracer, and it's his third best hero. And he's the third best one player of that hero on the team. Right.
Maybe fourth. We haven't seen Mendo in a long time.
It's true. There's no logical reason for him to be out there anymore. We've seen all we need to see. It's just insane. And if they don't make the playoffs after the stage one that they had, if they don't make the playoffs, somebody should be fired. And it's not even an exaggeration. You were the number 2 team going into the acquisition period. Okay, you thought you had a Tracer. So you had a whole stage to figure out, oh my God, we don't have a Tracer. The whole world knew it. Literally, go read Reddit. It's the only thing that they talk about. Go read any Discord. Go watch
Listen to High Noon Podcast.
They don't have a Tracer player. And it was getting better, but at the end of the day, what team doesn't have a Tracer one trick? Most teams have 2. The best teams have 2 people that can play it at a high level. And to just completely ignore it, and to continue to make the wrong roster decisions and to play the wrong people in spite of evidence, numbers, statistics, analytics, whatever you want to call it, the eyeball test, common sense, the ability to read your fan base. Nothing says to keep playing other DPS players other than Jake and Linkser. They just got Arhan. We didn't even see them try him. There's logic and reasoning to trying an unknown quantity because it's an unknown quantity. This is a known quantity. A quantity that's known to be inconsistent, known to completely disappear and have literally 0 impact at times when you put him into your lineup. So what is he still doing here? Why? Somebody should answer for that. So it needs to be addressed. I don't know if Flame is just too involved in who gets to play. Like, maybe that just needs to be turned over completely to Tyrong. Like, I will build the team. I will fill the scrim room with players. How you use them is up to you. You're the head coach. Yeah. That's the structure I would want in my team if I owned one or was a GM or a coach. That's exactly what I wouldn't want a GM telling me who I got to play. Right. That doesn't work for me. And if I was a GM, I wouldn't want a coach telling me who I can sign and who I couldn't sign. They should work with each other and get their opinion. But at the end of the day, only one person should be involved in that decision making, so that they know who to fire when it blows up in your face and you refuse to learn the lesson. And if you guys think that sounds too callous, please remember that they are hands down my favorite team. That I love Flame, I love Tyrong, I love all the players except for Clockwork. And I want absolutely what's best for this team going forward in the long run, but it is a results business. It is not callous to say that somebody should be fired when a team screws up, and like that's how this has got to work. So please don't come at me like, oh, they can't fire somebody because you don't like Clockwork. Like, no, you fire them because they just threw your season away. You're sitting here outside the playoff race and you were the number 2 team 2 stages. You dropped dramatically even, and you've made no effort to fix it. You had this whole acquisition period to just sign a Tracer main. Okay, even if it's the wrong one, I don't blame GMs for signing one wrong player, right? Like, you don't fire Flame because he signed Clockwork to begin with. You don't do anything like that. Right. But we don't know that Mendo is wrong, other than apparently he's been given opportunities to play and said no. And I get his logic, right? Like, let the people that have been scrimming on it, but I want my players to have that edge that, no, I'm the best. Like, I should be the one playing. I give us the if my players don't believe that at their core, every single one of them, all the way down the bench, what are you doing here? How did you even get this good? It
makes sense though, then, right? Like, the first time you ask, hey, Mendo, man, Jake is feeling off. We kind of want to, Clockwork hasn't been working out. We want you to play Tracer here. And he just goes, no. I would have done the same. He would have played the same amount as he did here. I would never have asked again. Like, you say, hey, man, next Thursday we're playing against Shanghai. We want to see your tracer, man. You've been doing all right, like blah blah blah. You want it? And he's just like, nah, I'm just not ready. Great. You don't show up. Like,
Yeah,
that's it. That's it. So maybe honestly, that could be exactly what happened. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and there's really no reason to like cut him unless you wanted to bring in additional players, which they apparently don't.
And they've talked since Arhan's showed up, they've actually been able to run internal scrims because they've got, the handful of coaches. They've got Flame, who's a very adequate, player that can definitely participate in like a tier 2 level scrim. Just give somebody an adequate opponent that's not a brick wall.
And scrim with them.
I believe.
I was told I was promised that I would be able to scrim. I did not get to scrim last stage.
Poor Numlock, such a good guy too. Unfortunately caught this meme. But yeah, so I don't want to go off too much on this because there's a lot of reason to be optimistic if you're an Outlaws fan. But
yeah,
if they've put themselves in too deep of a hole to be able to climb out of it,
right.
Then somebody has to answer for it. You don't just go, oh, okay, well, we refuse to learn our lesson for an entire season and we refuse to show any adaptability. And if you don't make a move in the organizational structure, the management, the coaching in some way, shape, or form, you're just going to see the same nine players back next year.
Right.
Like they're going to stay because the players buy into it, right? Like you can see that when you talk to them and you look at it. The players are there. They bought in. The coaches, everybody, Flame, Tyrong, everybody I've just mentioned is potentially needing to answer for it. Like the players clearly love them, right? Like you can see that. That is a family in that locker room there. Those players would, fight for each other. And so they've done a great job with that, but they just need to be willing to identify when they've been wrong in the past, and then they need to identify when they need to adjust what they're doing and when they don't need to adjust what they're doing, because right now that aspect of things has been completely backwards.
Yeah, and you did allude a little bit to Houston being good potentially in stage 4, so let's talk a little bit about what we might see there when we let's break it down. And we actually had I guess honorable mention for meme of the week that you made. Do you want to talk to us about this one?
Yeah, so it's just there's constant, listen, I get it, right? Like somebody on your Overwatch or Overwatch Central or whatever on their YouTube channel put out a video about how annoying this meta is. And there was like a Reddit post about it. And now the whole world hates this meta and they can't stand it. And it's no fun and it's got to get fixed and it's going to ruin the game and Overwatch is going to die because Brigitte's going to kill it and all. Right. Shut up. It's been dive only for 2 years. I don't want to hear just because you have to stand behind a Reinhardt shield again. Oh, poor you. It's no fun. Guess what? Some people always prefer Death Ball to dive, and I've been one of them, and I've shut my mouth this whole time and talked about the merits of dive and all the things that are good about it, so it's your turn now. You get to shut up.
You know that's not going to happen.
No, it's not, because I just told Reddit to shut up. So yeah, the meme was just the change my mind guy. The guy sitting there holding his coffee. I don't know how it originally started or where it came from or anything like that.
That's actually a podcast I found out. That guy does a podcast that's literally called Change My Mind.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, on the sign, it says season 10 meta is the most fun Overwatch has been since beta, and change my mind at the bottom. So listen, since Brigitte has dropped, we've been pretty squarely into a Death Ball meta game here, and I've really been enjoying it. A lot of people are complaining, and this is what might be rightfully so, is that there's maybe a little bit too much CC that happens to your Reinhardt player. Like he just gets kind of knocked around and is a little disoriented. But I play a lot of Reinhardt now, and I gotta say, it's pretty great. Like I don't care. Like what? Like it's the same thing. I don't care if you like throw me off the ground a little bit or whatever. Like you just need to adjust your play style a little more. Like stop standing there holding shield while people just bounce you around into oblivion. Like try pressing your shift button, which will force you straight. Like you just cut right through the enemy team.
You're telling people to do the one thing they should never do.
Well, but in the past, right, when you've got like tracers on your team and stuff like that, and now you can get away with it a little bit, and you still got to be smart about your charges. You know, you don't want to be going long distance charges and they're forever away. But when they're booping you around, just orient yourself at a wall and press shift, and I bet you things calm down a little bit for you pretty fast. But yeah, so this meta is going to be absolutely crazy. We did get to see a little bit of it on the high level scene when X6 Gaming did a show match against Fusion University. They only played one map. It was Rialto in the new meta. Everything else was on the old patch or on the LAN client. Now, this did involve the new Hanzo changes that we talked about, where Scatter Arrow's gone. And I want to be very clear. We don't know for sure that the Hanzo changes will be in Season 4. The rumor right now is that Scatter Arrow will still be in the 4th stage of Overwatch. So we don't know that all of this is necessarily true. So I'm going to be talking about Hanzo as a maybe. Okay, but what we're seeing and what I've heard from anybody that's seen, spectated, or knows anybody in contenders level teams that have been scrimming is Brigitte is an auto pick every time. Reinhardt, right there. Zarya, right there. Just about every single time. We're seeing a lot of triple support. So we're seeing Brigitte, we're seeing Zenyatta, and we're seeing Mercy paired together. That's what we saw in the show match, was that basically mirror matched against each other. Hanzo was also the solo DPS character on both teams. Now that's going to be a little different if the Hanzo change isn't there, obviously. He's so consistent with his damage output after the change that that's why he's included. He's not just about picks. Like, you need to be like wearing down shields and all these things. Now, also, you have to start to look at, there's a lot of armor stacking going on, right? Because Brigitte's ultimate, and one thing you guys are going to want to look out for when things get going, is there's a lot of added armor here. So when you rally on Brigitte, you do it outside of your fight, right? You don't do it in the middle of a team fight when everybody's swinging at each other. After the fight ends, everybody groups up on the point or in the spawn room, and Brigitte raises everybody's armor by 150, and that is permanent. It never goes away. It does.
Really?
Yeah. When rally expires, the armor remains. So
I didn't
in advance.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Up. Yeah, you rally up, because when I first started playing Brigitte, I'm like, everybody group up and spawn, and then I hit Q, and they're like, oh my god, what are you doing? You just fat fingered your ultimate. Yeah. Oh my god. And I'm like, read the patch notes or know something about the hero, guys. Everybody calm down.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so you go into the next fight, everybody's already got their armor boost, and while you're swinging away with your extra armor, you're building towards your next rally already. So it's a more efficient way to use it before the fight even begins.
That makes sense.
So
then.
Keep that in mind when if you're playing and you see a Brigitte in the middle of a fight, pop rally, you hear it in the middle of the encounter. Focus fire the Brigitte. You can stop it. It's like a gradual armor gain. You kill the Brigitte before she gets her full armor boost. Nobody gets the full armor boost. So keep that in mind.
Wow. Okay, so that makes a lot more sense than why people were saying Junkrat is going to be so much better, because you can't heal up that armor, so he's doing damage and it's not feeding support alts.
Full disclosure, the armor, how it interacts with every single gun in the game is really, really goofy, and I don't have I had a much better understanding of it with every hero when I was, doing some coaching and things like that. Like, I was really starting to get into it, and I've put that stuff down, so I'm not super well versed in exactly why all these things are true. But the armor interaction with the weapon has basically pushed Winston out of the metagame. I believe he's going to be unplayable. Winston and Tracer both are actually going to be gone, I think, from stage 4 of Overwatch League. We're not going to see them at all. The Tracer, in large part because, everybody on the other team's grouped up behind the Reinhardt shield. If you get anywhere near the Reinhardt shield or try to blink through it, Brigitte just stuns you, one shot kills you, combos you, you're dead, you're done. So Tracer's really, really difficult to play right now. Winston is basically impossible because he can't fight Brigitte. His Tesla cannon doesn't work well against armored people, and the whole enemy team is armored most of the time. So also his damage is out healed by Brigitte. So if he can left click Brigitte to deal damage and cleave your whole deathball team, a lot of times that would be great. You're cleaving the whole group of people.
Right.
But if you're that close, you're close enough that Brigitte can left click you, and then she's out healing the damage output that you're doing on.
That seems like a biff by the team. That seems like a miss on their part, on Blizzard's part. Yeah,
I don't know. I think they really wanted to kill the dive meta here, and I think they hit a home run if that's what they wanted to do here. Now, what this has led to is a really high premium on characters that are able to do damage from a large distance, right? Because as the death balls are moving towards each other, you just want Junkrat. Pew, 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 pew. You know, you want Widow looking for anybody that peeks around behind that shield. Okay, got him. You know, that sort of thing. So I think you're going to see a lot of Widowmaker, a lot of Junkrat, a lot of Pharah. Now, the problem with Pharah is that Pharah is countered by the Widowmaker. So if you're rolling out in a Widow Junkrat strategy, that's going to be a little tough to do. But if there's a team that maybe doesn't have a good Widowmaker, I think you can see teams get a lot of value out of Pharahs in this meta. Doomfist makes a bit of a resurgence, right?
Doofmist.
He's kind of the one, though. Yeah, the Doofmist. He's kind of the one. He's kind of the one hero that's a little divey that didn't really get hurt by this, right? Because he's very able to dash in, get a kill, dash out, right? So he can literally come flying in out of nowhere, kill your Zenyatta player, and fly out before you know anything happens. Also, as far as dive heroes go, he's the best one at shredding tanks. So
he also
and there's
punched
a lot
the
of
Brigitte right in the face.
Punches the Brigitte in the face, and he really makes that Reinhardt's day pretty unfortunate if he's just constantly knocking him around. Like it just adds a whole nother level of CC and annoyance that you get to use. Now we're seeing a good bit more Bastion and Torbjorn as well. I think both of those characters are going to be a little more viable. Torbjorn because he also adds a bunch of armor to people, so there's going to be some armor HP stacking compositions and strategies here. I've literally seen like screenshots of Zenyatas with like 800 HP. So if you want your Zenyatta to be, fatter than Roadhog, it's possible.
Wow.
That I think that included like a Lucio ultimate and things like that, all kind of rolled into
it.
It
Just
so
like the maximum.
Right. It was they were peaking it, not like he gets to just roll around like that all the time. But honestly, if you take his 200 and you talk about just giving him the 150 that Brigitte gives him right now, that's 350. That's more than Reaper. That's like more than May. Like that's like that's like almost off tank damage. HP pool, so it's pretty crazy. And that's not even counting the E that Brigitte can do, like in a pinch.
Right.
If you're diving your Zenyatta, you can throw that. I think that's 60 armor or something like that. I'm not 100% sure on the number there. Also now we've talked about how good the rally ability is and how tanky that makes everybody. There's about one thing that just absolutely tears through that right away, and that's the Zarya Hanzo combo. So even if we do see Scattershot, we very well might just see, I mean, the Zarya Hanzo combo is just one of the most efficient ways to deal with these heavy HP pool strategies and things like that.
And everyone's grouped up already.
Yep. So it's going to be really easy to hit. And if Zarya's in and not D.Va, then what's going to eat the grabs? The grabs are just going to be able to be hit. So that's definitely something
We might be seeing some old school Overwatch. It could look very much so like one of the beta stages or something like that as far as what compositions we see.
Fantastic Four really coming back about it, because as much as playing Dive got old eventually, Dive is much more dynamic to play to me than it is to watch. So I didn't mind playing Dive as much as I minded watching Dive. Like I was been low-key kind of like bored of just seeing nothing but Dive over and over and over again. So I'm really, really excited to get to watch some of these. Like we don't even know like what's going to happen to some of these. We've got Kalios in the Boston Uprising, just an absolutely nutty Zarya player. Gaguri is a nutty Zarya player. We've got Spree on the bench for the Houston Outlaws. We're going to see people coming in and playing for their teams.
Libero
that we haven't
playing
gotten to
something.
See yet.
Who cares?
IDDQD might be the best bet for the San Francisco
Get
shot.
out of here.
Because if we're going into a McCree meta, right? If we're going into like a McCree Junkrat, which is very, very
Grim
possible.
Reality's back.
If the Hanzo's not back in, right? If the Hanzo buff's not in, McCree's much better than Hanzo is, I think, or I have that feeling anyways. Very good at long range, very, very good at short range. More CC, the flashbang stun is only going to help you break down Reinhardt shields to hit your hammer downs.
I mean, are we going to be calling this stun meta? Is that what this meta is going to be called? Stun meta?
It's low-key a stun meta, yeah. Orissa's really good in that vein because you can just press shift and all of a sudden you're immune to all CC. You can't be moved. Anna's low-key a lot better now, right? Because you've got these kind of grindier healing strategies, right? Like there's some teams, and I've seen some people saying that like even with all this death ball, they're just going to run Brigitte, Lucio, and Zenyatta, right? Because you've got 3 healers. It's okay that none of them are big time burst healers. You just stay grouped up. Keep Brigitte swinging her hammer. Everybody will stay alive fine. For what it's worth, that's mostly accurate in my experience. That's a very viable strategy, unless
Yeah.
you get out of combat and somebody gets some ranged poke, you might be in trouble. But if that's the case, an Ana grenade to shut down the overtime healing makes your team fall apart really, really fast.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things changing in this metagame going forward. And most importantly, Tracer sounds like it's coming out. Winston sounds like it's coming out. And those have basically been at the top. I mean, outside of the support heroes and like the Mercy meta, things like that, Zenyatta has been an auto pick forever, and I don't think that's going to change, because Discord Orb, again, when you have to get through 600 HP pools to kill a DPS player, Discord Orb sure helps a lot.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to stick around. He's probably the one character that's just refuses to be affected by anything.
Just does too much damage as a support player.
Yeah.
And the ult is insane.
Yeah, so we'll talk more about what teams we think will be affected, and we've already mentioned. I mean, I can't look you in the face and tell you that we're going into a Widowmaker Junkrat meta, and you not already think that Houston's going to benefit from that pretty greatly. But we're going to have to wait and see. We're going to talk more in depth next week about what we think. The substitutions will be, right? Because like we said, Kalios over Note potentially for Boston. There's a lot of situations like that.
Take Note out. I mean, I guess if Diva's not being played, but man,
unless
Note
if he's
going to
play Brigitte, right? Like, yeah, Kalios is the better Zarya. So how do you take Cool Matt out of a lineup? Well, I mean, if Zarya's an auto pick, Spree's just better at it, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's not. You don't have to be bad at the hero to get subbed out in Overwatch League. So yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting. I'm very excited. Obviously, my team has a chance to rebound here a little bit, but also just even if they don't, like even if they just fall flat on their face, like it's a whole new world. It's a different game in a lot of ways. And at the same time, it really. And it's been far enough now that I'm almost nostalgic for the days when like it was group up behind your Reinhardt. You got the set play where you Lucio speed boost your Reinhardt right up to their Reinhardt. Your McCree throws the flashbang over the top of the shield, and then you hammer down. But now you've got that with the Brigitte stun. And Brigitte is a very, very cool, very fun hero. If you haven't gotten a chance to play it, you might as well learn it while it's maybe a little OP now. They're doing some things like making the rally cap out. Like this is already, potentially coming live in time to impact Overwatch League. And part of me hopes so on this front, that maybe rally up only gives you 100 armor instead of 150. I think that
and bash
has
cooldown
potential
increased.
That has a chance to come in very soon. So it's going to be really interesting. Yeah, the shield bash cooldown is increased from 5 to 6 seconds. But no matter what they do to her kit is very unique. It's very different. It's very impactful. I don't care what the cooldown is on a combo that auto kills Tracer. As long as it's faster than it takes the Tracer to come back to the team, it's going to change the meta quite a bit. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's whole new compositions, whole new teams. We could see. If there's ever a meta game that can unseat New York, it's this one. Looking at it, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, Libero can still fit. The thing
right,
is, Libero
they
lets you
only have
move wherever you want.
But there's no team that could cut a player the caliber of SBB from their lineup and say, okay, you're never going to play this stage. Sorry, bud. And like just maybe be better for it. Like, I mean, it's possible. I'm not saying it's the case.
Libero, Hanzo, Pine on Widowmaker, just run two sniper the whole time. I'm in.
Double
Step it up.
Is very viable.
I mean, you also could just
right now.
Only run one DPS a state. Like if it's like I don't know. We'll see. I mean,
but Pine Libero has the Widow Junkrat. Like if I'm right about Widow Junkrat, like that's the only DPS combo that comes close to Lynx or Jake in that meta to me. Like, that's just. Players getting to play what they do ridiculously well. Even if it's a little off meta or whatever in the past, it's not now. So it's going to be a huge shakeup in the next stage. Any team, literally any team. I mean, I don't know enough about the Shanghai players to know all their hero pools and things like that. If Ado can find a home, they could be a 4-win team this stage. I won't bet on it, but like
I wouldn't bet on it either.
You could see a considerable boost from them. Just flipping Gaguri to, and I know this is going to bother a lot of people because it bothered people in our Discord when we said it, to take Gaguri from the average diva player that she is right now, Overwatch League average, not average, across the board or anything. She's very, very good at diva, but in Overwatch League compared to Note, compared to Meko, compared to Cool Mac, compared to all the top players, I just don't see her up in that top. But on Zarya, I should say, she absolutely is in that conversation for one of the best Zaryas in the league away going into it. We've seen what the Gladiators did when one of their tanks flipped from okay to top tier all of a sudden they're a staged playoff contender, things like that. So I'm not predicting that. There's a lot of problems in Shanghai. It's possible. The Dallas Fuel, I'll make the argument. I'm not buying this one either, but I'll make the argument that the fans have been making here. They've never been able to play dive. They don't have the players to play dive on their roster. It's really not something they're comfortable with. It's not something they can do.
They did. They just never played them.
Right. They just were cowards. But now, they're not asked to, right? And we talked a lot about Zarya today, but maybe it's Roadhog. And if it's Roadhog, now you're talking about getting Taimu in there as your off tank.
Yeah.
And that's really going to help maximize just the sheer frag ability and talent of the roster that's on the stage. So there's a small, I still really think Boston or Dallas's problems transcend roster picks or players or anything. Like they're a diseased organization at this point. And they need to be, like detoxed or whatever the phrase is, decontaminated or whatever it is in the off season. But it's going to be really, really interesting. Anything can happen going into such a big shakeup. And I think it's a great time for it. Right. Just to make things really, really interesting, especially maybe part of it's on the back of what I would call a disappointing playoffs. It just didn't have much of that excitement. And now we're kind of getting it in the final stage. So we'll talk, like I said, we'll go into more detail about, how we think it's going to change the power. Maybe we'll just do our power rankings for the next stage since they're going to potentially be so different. Maybe we'll just go through our power rankings for stage 4.
That'll be a good
episode.
one. Yeah, we'll do that. We are at, we're at an hour 20. I did not think we were going to make it this far on this episode.
I was pretty sure. I love this meta so much. I'm literally I stopped myself from expanding on 7 topics throughout that conversation.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty. We'll have them for next episode because there's no Overwatch next episode. So we will do that. So we'll stop it here and we'll continue on next week talking about specifics of teams, our power rankings, etc. Maybe we'll get a little more clarity as to what the stage 4 patch will be exactly.
And I think we can also do a really good job, and I haven't done it yet, but decipher, even if they don't release the map pool to us, I think we'll be able to decipher it just by, hey, what maps haven't been played twice?
Right.
We should be able to figure that out.
Horizon Lunar Colony's probably back.
It's definitely back.
Yeah, for sure. Dorado, probably. We'll do this next week. But before we go, I know we have some reviews.
Yes, we definitely do. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So we have 4 reviews, actually. A little bit of a backlog here. So love this show is a 5-star review from Bughouse. I'm a huge fan of the show. It is by far the best way to stay up to date on anything Overwatch League. Thanks to the Blevins and Deathblow, I dread my morning commute a little less, knowing they will have some great Overwatch talk to entertain me. One request, play more of that Outlaws music drop. Big House, I would love nothing more than to spam that audio drop all day as soon as the team deserves it.
Here, hold on. I'll give him one. This is the one I had for
the leading into stage 4 hype song.
No, this is for Outlaws for last week. This is their song for last week.
Shame.
It's just a shame bell.
Shame.
But yeah, maybe we'll play one next week for you, just because things are maybe looking up. I don't know. We'll see.
The Outlaws are coming.
Just because, like I said, I'm superstitious. All right, so we've got another 5-star review here from Alex314. Change Mayhem's colors. # Pink and Blue Season 2. All right.
That's the Mayhem Academy team colors, though.
Oh, is it? Gotcha.
Well, maybe it's like the Hotline Miami, retro, Miami Vice colors. That's what it is.
Maybe he's just trying to swap the whole rosters too. I don't know. We'll have to see. But he says HNP is my #1 show every week, and ATP is my #2 show every week. Blevins and Deathblow are great hosts who love diving deep into strategy and statistics, but also deliver a healthy amount of memeing. I would definitely do meme a good amount.
Healthy is a really weird word to use there, but okay.
Yeah, memes might not be healthy, but anyways, we'll digress here a little bit. Lagging 24/7 with a 5-star review. My new favorite OW podcast came over here from Omnic Lab. It's like when your friend Omnic Lab introduces you to their friend High Noon, and you become better friends with their friend than them. Both are awesome, but High Noon takes it to a whole different level. They have so many shows at such a high quality that you'll never be bored. If you enjoy OW and and any level, at any level, this is the podcast for you. Keep up the great work, guys. Thank you so much. Omnic Lab, we love Omnic Lab. They're a whole different style of show than us. So
completely
if
different
you're
show.
bad at the game, like Blevins and I, and you don't want to be bad at the game, we're not going to help you with that. We're
That's not what our show does.
We're literally just going to mock you for it. Now they're going to be nice to you. They're going to help you. They're going to make you better. They're going to go into the lab as scientists would, and help break everything down for you. Phenomenal show and a phenomenal resource for anybody trying to get better. Make sure you guys check them out. 5-star review, great show by Kibtik. I love listening to the show while I'm at work. It makes time fly by and makes me wish for more. All the High Noon productions are amazing and so fun to listen to. Keep it up, guys, and ... Hashtag blue bag. Okay, it says burn blue, but I changed
it. You mean blue bag podcast?
Hashtag blue bag. But yeah, Kiptik, thank you so much for the kind words. Sorry about memeing you a little bit there. I had
healthy amount.
Yeah, it was just the right amount, but I have a feeling like Blaze and Bob and A. Smith are in live chat right now. So I took a shot at them, but it was like directed at you, and for that I apologize. You didn't deserve it. But yeah, that wraps up the iTunes reviews. So guys, as always, the number one thing you can do to help promote the show and give us a little boost is to stop by the iTunes page, leave us a review. Our service went away. We're not getting updates from other regions. I'm so sorry, Europe. I know people are like telling us they reviewed. I'm hoping to hear them read. I'm not getting them right now from the service. I will look for another way to do it since this became unreliable very, very fast. But nonetheless, to all of our Australian and European and whatever other regions are listening, we love you guys just as much. And we really are sorry we're not seeing your reviews to read.
Yeah, if you leave a review, just take like a screenshot of it and post it somewhere in Discord.
DM it to us, Discord, anything. Show suggestions, hashtag show suggestions in Discord. We will read it. Even if it's from the past and you want us to read it at this point, we'll pepper in a couple of European ones or as we have room. And
yeah, just take a screenshot, throw it in show suggestions, and we will we'll bring them on. But yeah, that is going to be it for this week, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone.
Except for Icarium. I don't know what your review is, but I have a feeling I'm not going to be able to read it on air no matter what.
I want to see it even more.
I want to see it really bad, but I won't promise I can read it. Yeah.
The only negative 2-star review we ever got was from Icarium. Will bring us to the end of the show, guys. Thanks everyone in the live chat who watched us. We do record Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern-ish over at twitch.tv/High Noon Podcast. Go over there now and follow. You can throw a follow there. And if you have Twitch Prime, you can sub to us for free. We did get a couple of subs during the show, which is why you heard that random Excelsior sound, which I couldn't turn off before. So whenever you hear that, that means someone was nice enough to sub to us while we recorded the live show. But yeah, also, guys, you heard at the top of the show, you heard the commercial for Con Before the Storm. That is basically the event that goes on the day before BlizzCon, and their stretch goal is the World of Podcasts, which is where I was last year for the podcast panel. It's where we will likely be this year once they hit the goal, but they do need your support to hit that goal. So we're hoping for that. There's going to be stuff planned around regardless of what it hits for podcasters, so that's going to be cool. But we definitely want to be the World of Podcasts stretch goal to be hit. And to be involved with that. So head over there. It's really cool, especially if you're going to be at BlizzCon, support it. It's a really awesome part of BlizzCon. And lastly, if you guys are from the US, look at the link below and vote for me for Overwatch World Cup Community Lead, because I need all the votes I can, because this is basically a high school election.
It's the only way where we can also potentially get me to be GM, because we have no idea what the best way to go about forcing Blizzard into making you the community lead and me the GM. That one's not for votes, so we need an inside guy.
Yeah.
Right. So we need to get Blevins in, and then he will just kick the door wide open, so that way I can walk through it.
Just remember, a vote for me is a vote for memes. I just made that up. That's my
too good. That's too good. I don't like it.
That's my campaign slogan right there.
I won't speak the rest of the episode. I'll just let you close this out. This is the last week where you're only getting one show from us on Tuesday. Starting next week, All Things Considered and the flagship show both hit your feeds on Tuesday. Again, that will be in the main podcast feed for a while as well. So.
Yes. But that is going to be it, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. And yeah, check out highnoonpodcast.com for all the links to all the shows and all that good stuff. All of that is there. Huge shout outs to Adam Hoek, who put on the awesome outro music that you are about to hear. But guys, that is going to be it for Deathblow. I am the Blevins, and remember, it's high noon.
Got his boots and he put on his hat. Threw the coin away that same day. It's in his past and he's not looking back. He says, finding mine now, God's my way. He's not good, but he sure ain't bad. He'll make amends for the sins that he has. He says, I'll change the world one bullet at a time till I find mine.
A vote for me is a vote for memes.